You guys, today's show is all about content. It's going to be amazing. So if you struggle with content or you need help with content creation ideas, today is your day. I'll see you on the inside.
You're listening to my mom
on the Mommy's Home Office Show.
Okay, Mom. Yes, you can. Love you. Yeah, push mommy up, eh?
Aw, thanks, guys. Now go play so I can record this. Welcome to the Mommy's Home Office Podcast, where I pull back the curtains and talk about the realities of starting and running a successful online business from home. I'm your host, Nicole Wynn. Let's do this. Today on the podcast, we have my good friend, Sarah Schwab. She is a mom of 3. She's an author of the book Content That Dances, and she's a content creation coach. She has been featured in a bunch of different places, and I'm so excited that she is on our show today. Okay, welcome to the show, Sarah. I'm so excited to have you on because we have been friends for 2.5 years now. Going on.
Oh my gosh, is that really true? Can't believe it.
We met at Amy Porterfield's B-School event. You guys have heard from a couple of my other friends that have been my B-School pals, and Sarah was one of them. Sarah Schwab is an awesome content coach, and she really helps people go through the content process and how to create content on an ongoing basis and how to really maximize the content journey with your tribe. So I wanted to have her on so we could talk all about that. But first, we always want to know, how did you become an entrepreneur, Sarah? Has it always been the case, or did the kids bring it on, or what happened? Tell us.
It's been the case for me. That's a really interesting question because I feel like I've been an entrepreneur at heart for my whole life. My dad was a small business owner. I've always wanted to have my own business. I, had all these business ideas in college and whatever. I didn't take the leap though right away. I got jobs after college. I worked in marketing quite a bit, worked in the nonprofit field, started a family, all of that kind of stuff. So I always knew it was coming for me. I just didn't know when or what it was going to look like. And when it finally happened for me was when my youngest was basically heading off to kindergarten. We got back we had actually lived abroad for a year. We lived in Switzerland in 2011-12, which was amazing.
Yeah.
We got back home and the kids were old enough now where I felt like, okay, now it's time. It's the right time.
Awesome. So you were a stay-at-home mom while they were little?
No, I had other outside work. So they were in daycare and I had actual jobs.
Okay. Yeah, no, so did I for the first few years, and then jumped into the entrepreneurial boat and I can never go back, I don't think.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. So then when you did take that leap, what did your first attempts at entrepreneurship look like? What was it? Was it multi-level marketing, or was it, just a straight off business?
I started my own business, which, like I said, was what I wanted to do. And I looked around and I basically said, I know I'm pretty good at marketing. I'm pretty good at digital marketing. And I just put my shingle out there, if you will, virtually. And in the beginning, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, I kind of did whatever people came to me and asked me to do. Can you help me with this? Can you do my newsletter? Can you write my sales page? I was like, sure.
Whatever you'll pay me to do.
And it took probably the first year in business for me to really hone in on my own thing. What is my niche? What is my thing? What is my gift? What is it that I really want to focus on? And in that first year, that's where I landed on content and creating content on a regular basis. I was blogging for my own business. I had actually been blogging. It started when we were living in Switzerland, interestingly enough, that previous year. And I was writing a blog, at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, to share that experience. And so that's something that I was pretty good at. I carried it into my business. I was building funnels. I was creating opt-in pieces. And I was realizing that those are things that people need help with. So I rebranded, and that's when I became content creation coach.
Wow, that's awesome. I could use some help with some funnels right now. I know exactly what to do. It's just the getting it done that I kind of need like an accountability coach or someone that says, hey, I need this by this deadline. And guess what? I'll have it done. But I kind of need that. I need somebody to crack the whip on me. So when you started Content Creation Coach, was that after B School or before when you finally branded as Content Creation?
That was actually before. So I went through a different program my first year that helped me get off the ground. And I, like you just said, with accountability or coaching or learning or whatever, I'm a huge proponent of always having somebody who is guiding you to the next level. So I did a different program my first year in business. And then I was looking around. I was like, I know I need something else. What's the next thing? And that's when I discovered B School. Was probably shortly after I branded as Content Creation Coach.
So can you walk us through, like, with your content creation stuff? Because I'm always curious. Creating content is always a challenge. It's not necessarily a challenge. It's a kind of a labor of love. You've got to do it. You've got to love doing it too, because that's kind of the gateway to how a lot of people find you. So could you walk us through some of your techniques or something, some helpful stuff that you do when you're trying to create content?
I would love to. And the first thing I always start with, if it's cool with you, is making sure people understand the strategy. And I have kind of a fun signature way that I describe the content strategy. So the way and that's kind of what I've been doing over the last 4 years since I became Content Creation Coach, is really honing in on what are these pieces and how do they fit together to really work into this strategy. I work on 3 types of content with people. The first one I call nurturing content, and that is the kind of content that's free and you have to put it out on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So you have to be creating it consistently. You know all about this, Nicole, because a podcast is a form of nurturing content, right?
As hard as it is to get it out every single week, unless I batch, I go through spurts where I get really good and I batch a lot. And then it's the end of my batched episodes. And guess what? Nicole hasn't batched because life happened. And then, and then I have nothing. And then I'm scrambling week to week. So I work really good with the batching system as long as I do it.
And that's a great tip for people with nurturing content. And there's lots of different ways. So you see it all the time when people start something, a podcast or a blog or whatever the case may be. And you've seen this on websites. You go to their blog page and the last one was posted, 3 months ago or 6 months or however long. Super common. And so just keeping up with that consistency and finding a way that it works for you is huge. And that's one of the things I help people with. So that's nurturing content. And it's the foundation because it's how you are getting in front of people on a regular basis and building that awareness and building that traffic. And that's the goal with it, right? Is to get it in front of as many people as possible. Then the next important piece or type of content I call catalyst content. And catalyst content are still free content, but it's something you only have to create once. And that's where your lead magnets and opt-in pieces and things like that fall in. And they're still free. People aren't paying money for it, but they require some sort of exchange or engagement from folks. So they're going to give you their name and email address, or they're going to maybe show up for a webinar. I even consider public speaking to be a form of catalyst content because you're in that room with those folks. You're delivering value. And you most likely have a way of contacting them or capturing them or reaching out to them afterwards. So that's really key, is having catalyst content. And that's where there's a lot of terminology being thrown around here, but you use the word funnels. And so catalyst content is always at the top of the funnel. So that's the first step, is what is that thing that you're giving to people? What's the value you're providing to get them into the funnel?
Okay. That makes them fall into that funnel.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So the third type of content I work with people on, I call money-making content, which always sounds great.
Money, 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 money.
And that's the type of content, obviously, that people pay money for, which often looks like online courses, online programs, digital content pieces that people will pay for, trainings and things like that, and how to not just create them, but then set them up so that you can sell them and people can buy them and you can deliver them and automate all of that. So there's some both strategy and implementation that goes with helping people do those kinds of things. So that for starters is my approach to content creation. Does that make sense?
It does. Actually, it helps a lot because I think a lot of people kind of get stuck when they hear all of this different content that they have to produce, and they have all these different channels that they have to produce for. And really, I think I'm a big fan of multi-purpose content. So with my nurturing content, like this podcast, if I wanted to, I could take some quotables out of this and make those social images. I also take little audio clips out of these and make social images or promos for the content, and then reusing this in different ways. And it is also on my website as kind of in blog format, and it has to be that way because of the show notes that need to be there. And it does need to have a lot because you have to have SEO and you have to have all that stuff. I mean, it's like all of these layers, and it just feels sometimes so overwhelming and like it's so much stuff that if there's one thing I can just throw and honestly, I'm a big proponent of the book, The One Thing. And it's like the one thing that you can do that's going to make everything else easier is produce a good piece of content, I think. And then all your dominoes fall down.
Exactly. There's a couple of things that I heard in there that I love. And that's exactly what I see and what I want people to understand, because there's some confusion sometimes, because I think the word content gets overly used. And how does it relate to social media? And people will use the words social media content or website content or sales content. And actually, I want to take a second to distinguish that, because for me, content is different from copy. It's different from, the short, snippety kinds of things that go on social media or sales pages or things like that. Content has to provide immediate value. And the primary goal of content is to build a relationship. And so that's back to what you were saying. Creating content has to be fun. It has to be more personal. It has to be about engaging with your people and really having that conversation with them, giving them some value. I find that really exciting and engaging. And then when you have a piece of content, whether it's a podcast episode, a blog article, whatever the case may be, videos, some people want to, like to do video format, you can turn that into so many more things. And repurposing content is one of my favorite things as well, because you can do it both ways. You can break it down into social posts and things that, like you were saying, you can also combine them over time. If you have a blog or a podcast, you could combine a whole bunch of articles and ideas and interviews into a larger piece, an opt-in piece, an ebook, a series, maybe even a published book. I know people who've turned their podcast into a book that they publish and sell. So creating content it's such a foundational, useful asset for your business.
Are there any tips you can give us? Because I love creating content, but what I don't like is sitting down at a blank page and not knowing what I'm going to say or how to even start, or like I'll have all these topics that I've come up with, but then I'm like, what the hell do I even say about this? Like, sometimes you just feel writer's block before you even started.
Right. Okay. So when it comes to knowing what to talk about, there's a couple things I do with people right off the bat, and creating a topic list is first and foremost. And so I have honed what I call my topic radar. So I'm always on the lookout for topics whenever I am talking with clients, talking with prospects. When I'm creating other content, you may notice this. When you're talking about something or writing about something, you get other ideas.
It just happened a little while ago. Did you see me put my hand up?
Right. Like, oh, I just got another idea. And you're tempted to go off on a tangent about this other idea. But what I say is pause, write down that other idea, put it on your topic list and save it. and stay focused on the one that you're creating right now. But the goal is to have a topic list that has, 10, 20, 30, however many topics on it. So you're never just pulling up a blank page.
You mean, so you shouldn't be like me, who has like 15 half-written episodes on her Google Docs?
Well, half-written episodes, well.
But it's okay, because I feel like now those are the ones I'm batching right now, and I can actually just sit down and, I'll go through and do a brainstorming outlining day, and I'll just have all my topics, and then everything I can think of for that one specific topic, I'll put into the document, and then I'll walk away. And then I'll come back, and I don't start at a blank page. Right. When I was starting at a blank page, it was miserable, and I would sit there and go, what the hell am I doing? I don't want to write. And it would take me like 5 hours to write one piece of content. So.
Yeah.
But this has helped a lot. And, when we're talking about all the things that have to get done, content, it can really seem like a big time sucker. I always have this issue, like, do I do content, or do I do this, or do I do that, or I need to have this call with a client, and then that's when, like, not only does the business guilt happen, but then the mom guilt happens, because all these ideas are usually coming to me after I've picked up my kids. And I really want to go back into my office and go write, but I can't. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a struggle.
It is. And let me get really real for a second, if I can, because I want people to hear this. Content marketing is not like a magic pill. It's not an overnight solution, quick fix, all of that stuff. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so in the beginning, it can definitely feel that way. And I know you're at the beginning of your podcast, so we were talking about this. It feels that way.
It feels like nobody is listening, but maybe my mom, and I don't even know if she's listening anymore. So.
Oh, stop. Thank you, listeners. Nicole loves you.
I do. I love it. But I'm just, it feels sometimes like right now I'm in here in my closet. At least I'm talking to you, but sometimes I'm just talking to myself, and I'm like, okay, is anybody going to listen to this? And then I see the numbers, I see the stats, and I'm like, okay, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know.
And it's important for people to hear that. So I want people to hear this. So in the beginning, the effort is high. It's a new skill. It's a new thing. There's new technology. You're trying to figure it all out. You haven't kind of gotten into a rhythm with it yet. And the impact is lower. It's not, you haven't built up your audience yet. It takes a little time to do that. So I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, it does feel like a time suck. And that's the time when it's particularly hard to stay consistent and committed to it. But I'm here to tell you, it's the people who stick with it that get the results in the end.
That's what I was just about to say.
Over time, the effort goes down. It gets easier and easier. You're able to repurpose more. You get better with your systems, and it flows. And the impact goes up and up and up. Your audience grows, the response grows, the engagement from people, right. All of that kind of stuff. And it's really, really worth it in the long run. But I know in the beginning, it's hard for people, and it's hard to see that sometimes. So I totally get that.
So I picked podcasting because blog writing was just excruciating for me, but it was so hard to keep it going, and it was probably because when I was trying to write a blog, it wasn't for Mommy's Home Office. It was for my senior living business that was excruciatingly not as interesting as what I'm doing now. So it was always like coming up with these topics, and a lot of them are sad, and a lot of them are depressing, and a lot of them are based on bad health and bad decisions and bad outcomes. And so to me, I was like, I cannot blog. Well, I probably could blog now, but I couldn't blog for that business. It just was sucking the life out of me. So I chose podcasting for this one because I knew I could talk. I can talk forever on any topic you give me, basically. I'll just be rambling on by myself. But it's easier for me to create this content, and it's more fun for me to create this content than it is just to publish a post.
Right. Which is important for you. And when I work with people, that's what we have to look at, is what is going to work for them. And some people, they love writing. They'd much rather write a blog article than, talk into a microphone, which terrifies them, So there isn't a right or wrong way to do it. It's, for me, especially with mompreneurs, it's all about figuring out what works best for you and what's fun for you, like you said, and what do you enjoy doing? How do you enjoy sharing what you know?
Right. So back to that, like during the summer of last year, I was already starting to work in mommy's home office, but totally behind the scenes with no website, nothing. And I was taking clients, but I wasn't like, I had nothing. I had no website, nothing. But I was like, oh, I will do a twice a week Facebook Live show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2:00, because that's a good time for moms. Kids are napping or whatever. Well, it was during the summer. I think I must have been smoking something because I don't know what I was thinking. I was never available on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:00. And everything would always mess up that schedule and I couldn't be consistent and I just dreaded it. So podcasting is definitely my medium because I can sit here in my closet after my kids have gone to bed and record 5 or 6 episodes, and I don't have to worry about the video or being live or any of that stuff.
Right.
Makeup or clothes for that matter. So.
Well, and you know this too. I've been writing blog articles for my whole business for like 4.5 years. And I also am stepping into the podcasting world because I think it's such a great, powerful, fun medium. And I even created a group called the Passionate Podcasters to support other folks who are interested in learning about this, along with me. And also, I think what I bring to it is not just, there's a lot of groups and things about podcasting and how-tos and that kind of stuff. But what I bring to it is my content strategy side of things. And how does your podcast fit in to your marketing strategy? How do you get those, the audience you build in your podcast into your funnels, or how do you leverage it for your business? So we talk about some stuff like that.
And that's really important. You guys, I want to also stress that nobody's making money podcasting. Very few people get paid to podcast. Okay. I'm not Terry Gross. I'm not This American Life from NPR, but people think that I get paid to podcast. And I'm like, oh, no. I pay a lot of money to podcast. So I don't get paid. And it's all part of my content and nurture sequences for my tribe, for my people. It's to get out there and to have my voice heard and to say the things I want to say and get it out there where people can hear it. And I'm a big podcast junkie. So this fits with me for sure. So you wrote a book. Tell me about that book real quick.
My book was really a culmination, again, of all of the work I've done and strategy I've created with content marketing. So some of what I talked about in terms of nurturing and catalyst and money-making content is in there. There's 3 more legs of the content marketing stool, if I can call it that. So strategy is one of them. So I go into the strategy piece. Mindset is another one, which you kind of alluded to, where people get stuck, they get scared, they get, writer's block, or I'm not creative, or I can't write, or whatever the case may be. So I do talk about some of the mindset pieces in the book. And the third one is actually creating the content, the creative process, the skills that you need, what that is like and how not to be a perfectionist about it and things like that. So
yeah, you got to let that go.
All of that is in the book, and I call it, the title of the book is Content That Dances, because for me, I love my business. I love creating content. I've always been a creative person, but my favorite form of creative self-expression is actually dance.
You were in a couple of competitions, weren't you? I saw on Facebook.
I have rediscovered my passion for dance in the last couple of years. And I've been doing quite a bit. My goal in 2018 actually is to do a competition outside of the state of Wisconsin where I live. So
wow,
that's a big deal. And so I really believe it's important to share things like that, personal things that mean a lot to you, that are your passion. And so I had to weave dance into my book because that's part of who I am.
Well, if that competition happens to be in Dallas, you know where to stay.
It looks like it's probably going to be in Las Vegas, but
even more fun. So, Sarah, we're all moms on this podcast, or at least I think we are. It's called Mommy's Home Office. So how do you juggle? What's your juggle look like? Because that's kind of where I want to know, and I want to go down this road with other moms to see what their juggle looks like. Because my juggle is crazy. And I can just imagine you have 3 as well, don't you?
I do. I have 3 kids. And they are 13, 12, and 8 at this point. And for me, it's been amazing. I'll be honest. I told you at the beginning, I didn't start my business until my kids were at least a little bit older. I'm not sure I could have done it with toddlers around. So I have a ton of respect for anybody who has taken that on. I love it because my kids are old enough to kind of get it. And I have to tell you this quick story. I'm in my office, my mommy's home office right now, which I just redid a couple of months ago. I needed to get the space so that it was actually a functional office. And we put this whiteboard sticky thing on the wall, and I let my kids break it in. So I gave them the whiteboard markers, the dry erase markers, and they got to write stuff on there. And at the very top, my daughter wrote, "Content marketing is the best marketing." And it has little hearts around it.
Oh,
it's so cute. And I've left it up there because it just showed, like, I don't know how much she actually understands what that means, but they see what I do and they get it and they're supportive of it. And that is huge. Yeah. I think it's, for me, being an entrepreneur is partially for me because it's who I am and it's what I want to do. But I feel like being a role model for my kids is just as important. And so them seeing me do something and work towards goals that mean something to me, I think that's so, so important. I always say my juggle is 3 things. I have 3 balls in the air. And it's my business, my family, and my creative outlet, my dancing. And it's always about, I told my husband earlier this year, I think any one of those things could be better if I spent all of my time doing it. If I was 100% stay-at-home mom, clean the house, like all of that all the time, my house would probably be a lot cleaner than it is right now, you know?
Yeah, but if that were me, I would probably be drunk by lunch.
I would go crazy.
Yes.
But the same is true for my business. And it's important for people to know this too. Like, I don't spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week on my business. I don't want to do that. I want to be present for my kids. I want to have time for other things. And, could I be making more money and having a more successful business if I did? Sure, probably, but that's not what I want.
It's not your season in life right now.
Exactly. And so for me, the gratitude is that I get to have all of it in my life and just, I do what I can, and that's how it fits.
Oh, I love all of that because, I have this big thing about mom guilt and how much I hate it. And I want to crush it and just not, I don't think it should be a part of our life, even though it will be. I think we should know when it's there and be able to say, okay, yeah, I see you, go away. And I struggle with that a lot because I've got the 3 littles. So yours were older. Mine are the 7, 5, and 3. So, and they're all boys, which is super high energy and not a lot of like, hey, let's sit down and draw for 2 hours.
Right. So mommy can be on her left.
Right. But they see me and they go, Mom, are you still doing mommy's home office again? And I'm like, what does that mean? And he goes, my 7-year-old goes, well, you told me, I think you said it's you helping moms get jobs. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not helping them get jobs. I'm helping them build businesses and then they can create jobs. And so they like it and they see that. And then when my husband is at work, we kind of share this office and it's like a big drafting table and he has his side and I have my side. And they're like, Daddy, are you working on Daddy's home office? And so it's really funny because they think it's all like incorporated in mine, even though my husband's in finance. So I don't know.
Right. Something totally different.
Yeah, totally different.
Okay, so I do have one. I can share a real personal thing that might be helpful for people when it comes to the mommy juggling and splitting time, because I've so been there and I struggle with it regularly, which is because we work at home, because we have laptops, because we have phones, whatever, like we can literally be anywhere working on our business at any time. And I'm so guilty of, I'll be at the kitchen table in the morning on my laptop and then the kids will come down for breakfast. And I'm like, okay, I just have to get off a couple more emails, get the milk.
So guilty.
And I finally made a rule for myself, and I told them this. And this is why it's so important to actually have an office, you guys. Like, Mommy's home office is a real thing. It's a room.
It's a real place. Yeah.
And creating that is huge, whether it's a corner or a desk or whatever it is. But like, if you let it spread into other areas and other times, and suddenly, the breakfast table turns into the office, that's not cool. And so I made a rule for myself, and I tell the kids, I said, I am committing to not having my laptop at the kitchen table anymore. And I don't do that. And they'll call me on it when I slip, because you said you weren't going to have your laptop. So it happens, and it's something we, have to continually watch and work on. But that was something that was helpful for me.
Yeah, that totally helps. I'm really guilty of wanting to work all the time. I think I have workaholic tendencies because I like it. I have fun with it. I enjoy it. And sometimes, let's be honest, working is a lot easier than dealing with fighting kids and screaming kids or putting dinner on the table. I would rather come in here and just work on social media posts or something, and not have to deal with all of that. But yeah, it has been a struggle for me, the balance part, making sure. But I do try to be super intentional with my kids when we're there. Like, last week we're recording this the week of March. I don't even know what today is, March 20th. And last week was our spring break, and we were in California in the Redwoods in Carmel by the sea. And I didn't take my laptop, which I felt like I left an arm at home, but I didn't take my laptop, and all I did was check in a couple times and post 4 or 5 Instagram pictures, and that was it. Nothing else.
Good for you. That's
Everything else was supposed to be on autopilot. I feel bad because one email didn't go out with a notification, but other than that, everything went fine. So
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And it takes a while to build up to that too, by the way.
That was 9 days. It was really crazy.
Good for you.
Thanks. I'm so glad that we got to talk to you, Sarah. I haven't talked to you in a couple of months, and I missed you, and I'm so glad you were able to get on the podcast. And I know you were in Switzerland for a while, so that kind of delayed our schedule a little bit, but I'm glad you're back.
Thanks so much for having me, Nicole. I loved it.
Well, there you have it, guys. Sarah has been so awesome, and she's given us all this great information to go implement in your content creation process and great things to think about. So if you want to visit her website is contentcreationcoach.com, and go check it out. She has some really awesome tools that you can use in your content creation process. So until next time, have a wonderful day and rest of your week, and I will see you next week. I really hope that you're loving this podcast as much as I am. If you are, please, please, please leave a raving review on iTunes so more moms can find us. Easiest way to get there, mommyshomeoffice.com/iTunes. And just one last thing. Mom, you've got this. Now go kick some ass.